All right. Oh, that's not good. That's definitely out of spec. Welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve, and this is Chris. Y'all know Chris from previous episodes. So today we are going to crack into the engine. In the last episode, you saw me go ahead and take all the accessories off of it, and pretty much strip it down to a long block. But today we're actually going to go ahead and dive into the engine itself and find out what's going on. As you saw in the intro there, we have some end float issues. So I think that my plans have changed initially, and we're going to go ahead and probably completely tear this thing down and do a full rebuild. So stick around, grab yourself a cup of jitter juice, and hang out. All right, so we were just kind of casually talking about kind of where to start with this guy, and we were looking at the guide that I had, the shop manual, and we looked at the crank end float, and I said, well, why don't we go ahead and just give that a shot? So I have this dial indicator that I got from Harbor Freight a while ago, and so I figured I'd bust this out for this. And so pretty much, according to the guide, we want to be between 4 and 8 thou, and as you can see, we have definitely more than that. It's kind of borderlining almost 12 thou. So that tells me that in itself we need to do the thrust washers. Probably going to end up getting some of those screw-in thrust washers from customthrustwasher.com that Aaron Dyson was talking about over with Dragon Phoenix Garage. I think that's probably going to be a really good route to go. That way I don't have to worry about them ever dropping into the oil pan. I know they're there, at least they should be, but let's go ahead and get this thing kind of broken down. I think we'll probably start by getting the nut for the pulley off, and then take this apart, get the timing chain cover off, inspect the timing chain. We'll probably roll it over, take the oil pan off, maybe pop the head off, and go from there. So let's get cracking. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and try to get this guy off real quick.
There's not like another pulley that goes over it or something.
Let's see.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
No, but what will be fun, and this is why I kept your puller, is the sprocket for the timing gear.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so we need a big flathead, and then probably a 9/16. So we're going to go ahead and just pull all these off, get the cover pulled off, and then once the cover's pulled off, we'll take a look at the timing chain and tensioner. We'll get that disassembled. And go from there. Chain cover off, the timing chain off. We're going to go ahead and focus on taking the head off next, and that's going to be our next stop on this journey. Like I said before, I know that I wasn't going to initially, but I think that it's probably just for the wiser to do it. I was trying to preserve the copper gasket, but honestly I don't think that that's important. I'd rather go through the engine entirely, at least as much as possible. So let's go ahead and get this cover off, and then we'll start busting the head loose and go from there. right, so we brought the block on out into the driveway. We degreased it, gave it a good brush down. Went ahead and also flushed all the water passages with a nice jet, and got this thing pretty cleaned up. Next, we have the head over here. We haven't touched this. We haven't looked at it yet. That is on our to-do list. Over here, we are going to go ahead and pull the lifters on out and then get those all labeled and marked. And so far, no real surprises. Chris did notice that there was a couple of issues with the head gasket where there was possibly a little bit of little seepage, a little blow by, but nothing too big. Another thing I noticed that the head gasket was starting to come apart in one of the corners over here. Yeah, it's right here. It's just starting to split. The copper was starting to split, so probably a good thing that we're going this deep, even though I didn't want to. What do you have to say, Chris? Anything you want to share?
No, it was really nice to be able to clean it off, especially to flush out the coolant passages with the hose. I brought all kinds of nasty junk out of there. So
Yes, and then we got us all
Cleaner's
nice and dirty too. So, also Chris did note on the head. You want to show them this real quick? You were talking about one of the valves not turning.
yeah, in general, when
This
the
one
valves
here,
are
I think,
going
right?
here, this one here, the number 2 cylinder, you can see the valve has not been rotating. So as the rocker arm has been working, it's only been working one side of it. So it'll be interesting to see how the seats look and see if they've been rotated clean.
So you would say though, then that really based upon finding that is probably good enough reason in itself to pull the head off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and work on getting these guys pulled out. Chris has already labeled up a couple of bags. We're gonna get those lifters pulled on out, and then we'll flip the motor over and then start pulling the oil pan off and start checking it out from the bottom.
Two comes out.
I'm gonna pull the first one out. And we're gonna go ahead and just try to get the second one. Alright, so what are we doing next?
I just want to peek at the cam lobes before we pull the cam out because they usually get all dirty and I don't want to say scratched, but stuff all over them. So yeah, a little light like that. I'm just kind of watching the ramps and stuff. That already has a little dirt on it. Let's go down to the next one. Yeah. Ooh, that one's definitely hot on one corner. Next one. Oh, that one's pretty clean. Down here. Yep. I think we'll see them better when they come out, but that one's got a little wear on the ramp up.
Oh yeah, you see that for sure.
Down here, this is the one that'll look weird.
Oh, hey, what was that? Right there on the edge.
Oh, that's just a drop of water.
Oh, okay.
That one actually doesn't, but the top of it looks a little weird. That one looks pretty straightforward. There's not nearly as much side lobe wear as that. But those are cleaner. These ones down here were the ones that showed the most side lobe wear as they come up. You know, they're kind of like curved around it.
Oh.
Yep. Okay. That don't look too bad.
No.
I was expecting to see a lot more on that one. Maybe it's just a lifter going bad.
So what should we tackle next then?
Let's take the oil pan cover off and get another peek up underneath.
Cool. All right, let's do that. All right, so let's go ahead and pull this off. I've had this pan off before. I pulled this pan off and replaced the seal on it at one point, and I'll be replacing it again.
Always.
There we go. Nothing crazy in there. I didn't really run the engine all that much. But there we go. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and get the oil pump off.
You're shipping, I think, right?
Yeah. Alright, so now that we have this all off, I'm just going to go ahead and give it all a wipe down. And then we'll get my feeler gauge, and then we're going to check the clearances on the pump so we have a better idea what we're working with. We're going to check the inside wall, the outside wall, and then the end float. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and now check the end play.
Oh, more than 3. Okay, keep going to the one done fit.
Alright. Okay, so we'll do 4. Okay.
Getting tight.
Yeah.
See if it'll
I
take
think we'll
6.
I hate how these things stick together.
I know. I'm never quite sure.
All right, let's check 6. Oh yeah, 6. We're in.
Here, try it again. Just to make sure.
Let's try 5. 5 is.
You should feel drag. That's the right thickness. If it goes in easily, it's still not right. You should feel drag.
Yeah. So we're within
6 out of 8.
Yeah. I'd say that's pretty decent.
This is also just aluminum, so if you wanted to flat it out, you could buy a lot of that wear back again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we go. Okay. So.
Yeah, where the tip of the rotor touches the height of the body. That's just what I thought there. So that's not going to be but 2 or 3 thousandths probably.
Oh yeah, it's not. I didn't 08, so.
Yeah, that'd be totally worn out. I bet the 4 won't even fit.
Try 4.
Oh, no, it does. Okay.
So 4.
Maybe 5 or 6. I was surprised 4 fit in there. There's no side play in the pump shaft, which is nice.
5.
Pro tip: when you start using this for valve settings, unscrew them and put your 2 valve setting ones on the end.
Oh, that's smart.
They're not in order, but they were on the end.
6.
Okay, you think a 7 will go? 8 is the limit, pretty much.
7.
So maybe a new oil pump, if you want full pumping. I mean, but it's cast iron, it's not going too far. That's 8.
Yeah.
Okay,
What's back on that?
7.5 thousandths.
All right, so we checked the end play on the oil pump, and everything in the oil pump seems pretty decent. However, I think that I'll probably go ahead and just try to flatten out the top of it a little bit, just to tighten up those clearances. Outside of that, though, it was pretty good. Next, we're going to go ahead and just pull the cam on out and go ahead and get that inspected. There we go. Cool, so let's go ahead and take a look at the cam in further detail. Chris, why don't you take it away?
Camshaft looks pretty interesting. The things that stand out to me are that the bad lifter that we were looking at with the flatted top, and I think it was the third one here, they both look really quite clean. So it doesn't look like the cam has suffered any of that wear. It was probably just the lifter going flat or something, and developing a spot that kept it from rotating. All the other lifter sides, this end down here, which was the pulley end, actually looks like it has a little more cupping wear on the ramp ups, but nothing that scored it. It's just a little bit of uneven wear from the side. I don't think there's anything wrong. This is a nice camshaft because every other piece in here is the sacrificial bit instead of the cam. So I think it's clean and ready to go back in. If anything, I really is kind of surprised by the main support bearings sections are just so little wear on them. I mean, I'm used to those at least seeing some kind of cleanup, but they look pretty much brand new almost with all the parkerizing on them.
Yeah, the funny bit that you find interesting is the lack of wear, but I find the hand-scrolled part number and the cam itself to be pretty interesting.
213028. No idea.
Yeah.
Could be a manufacture date, something like that.
Who knows?
It's probably something to do with the grind of the cam. You know,
That's true. Yeah.
they might have left that off until it came off the cam machine so that they can mark it, or it's just a manufacture date somehow.
Cool. All right. So we
So
we got a
far,
good
nice and
cam.
clean.
Yeah. Let's keep digging on. What do you think we should tackle next? Do you think we should take a look at rod bearings?
We can
or...
either pull the pistons out themselves, which is kind of the way you're supposed to do it, or we can redneck it by pulling the main the main crank bearings and just lift the whole shoot and match out at once. You can do that coming out. You can't do that going in.
Right. Well,
So-
maybe we should just pull them out individually then.
It's easier to get the leverage you need on these bolts while it's in the case. They're occasionally 50 foot-pounds is hard to hold onto the crank with yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
Impacting them out is an option because it's coming out, but torquing them back in, That's why you gotta do it in here, because it's the only way to support the crank solidly. So yeah, might as well just do it like we would normally do it. Just start pulling pistons out, take the rod nuts off, and drop them out the bottom.
Cool.
Probably pull them out, tip it sideways, just so that we don't have to catch them underneath.
And I think that maybe before we do that, we're gonna go grab some lunch. We get some more baggies because we've run out of baggies for all the small bits. So
It's a good thing.
I think that it's a good place to press pause, and we'll pick it back up. All right, fresh back from lunch. We're gonna go ahead now and start removing the connecting rod end caps, and then we'll drop the pistons out, and then from there, what's next? Do the crankshaft once we get away.
The flex plate off the end, and then the main bearings.
Cool. All right, well, let's get started. All right, cylinder 2. And I'm not seeing any wear marks really on these.
No scuffing on the skirt. Looks nice.
Yep.
Little scuffing right there on the skirt.
Oh yeah.
Wow, it's weird to see non-clearance piston. So next thing we want to do is go ahead and pull this front plate off. That's going to be the next thing to come off. We need to take it off, clean it, get the old gasket off there, put a new gasket on, all that jazz. But we want to be able to pull the main caps off. And in order to do that, we got to get the plate off. So we have, oh, yeah, there's an Allen. But I don't know if that's in the plate or just through the plate.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, no, we'll find out soon enough.
I got a couple of flatheads up here, though. Oh, well, that came off easily.
Easy peasy. Yeah, no kidding. There you go. Posts. I think they're on there tight from. Where's the other one? There it is.
It's right there. There we go. Woohoo! That is one big old gasket.
Lovely.
All right. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can get this cap off.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Hey, you want a separate bag for that?
Yeah. I bought 90 bags. May as well.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah. All right. So now, what? Crank?
Crank end.
You're gonna help me put this all back together too, right?
I hope you were paying attention.
I wasn't.
5 minutes later.
I'm done. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and, as far as the bearing caps are concerned, is there any order? There's that nice oil passage on this bearing. But I mean, look, you can see that it's copper, right? And then theoretically, this should straight up.
See if we make sure we're leaving all the bearings behind when we. Oh,
They're all connected to the crank still. Here's that. Yep. And then there's the back. This is definitely where having a second set of hands is very helpful.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna inspect. We got the crank out, we got the valve train out, and we got the cylinder head on the bench. So we're gonna just see what was hiding underneath all this time. So the first test for the crank, since you took your gloves off,
Yep.
is just to go over, and while a lot of these journals, they look colored and dark, and in some cases they look a little like rusty, that's not really the problem. If you run your fingernail over them, they don't suffer from any fingernail problems. On the mains, well, I don't know. But you can see here, if you start pulling right here, for example, this one there's definitely fingernail catches on. This one's in pretty good shape here on the top side, but this one here has a little bit. That's so shallow that it'll probably just polish off in a moment.
And how would you go about polishing those up? Just use the emery cloth and...
Yeah, typically either get a little thin strip, like about a 1/2 inch wide or 3/4 inch wide, and either really long, comes in a roll, or you just cut them out of 8.5 by 10 sheets. And then you go like this all the way around. You know, you got to kind of do it wet, and it'll take that color off. You just got to be real even as you go around. You're never going to remove a 1/2 thousandth, but mostly you're just taking the coloring off. Now, for something like this one, if you run your fingernail in there, you'll feel that.
Oh, yeah.
That's the rod on those. I would say run it on the emery a little extra, but it'll take some of that off, but not all of it. As long as the gouges are around and there's nothing that's like it ate a stone or anything, you can probably get away with just polishing it down. Take a quick peek. For the valve rockers. This is a weird valve rocker train in this car because all the oil cooling comes up at the very end. I don't know why they wouldn't bring it up in the middle, but the oil cooling comes in. The oil comes up here, runs down the shaft. You can see all these little holes where the oil will come out. Kind of keeps it lubricated. Given them, you know, they spend their whole life just going about this much. That's all they do. So the bottom of each shaft will be much more worn than the top, and there'll be spots where if you go a little too far, you'll see it'll just kind of hit a spot. So there's some hot spots there. I don't know if they're within the realm of motion. You know, most of them are pretty smooth in the rocking area, but if you get to the end, it obviously is worn down a spot. But feel this one right here has got a big detent in it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's definitely, now these are spring loaded, so if we pull them back and see, it might just be something, it might be just wearing into this aluminum you know, and this post here instead of actually on the shaft. But in general, you're just going to clean all these off, but what I would recommend, if possible, is that you flip the shaft. Mark one end of it down here with a dinger, or, you know, take a little scrape there with your file so that you know which way was out at the original end. So that when you put it back in, you put it back in upside down. And that way, all of the wear that's on this side is now going to be sitting on the top, where nothing. These only ever get pushed up on both sides, so the top shed of the shaft never wears.
Right.
So by flipping it over, you'll get a nice new radius across the whole bottom of the shafts.
That works.
And you'll be able to look inside and make sure none of these got heated or cooked or anything like that. And then the last thing you do if you're flattening things out is get the ends, the sides of it, just flatten them off on a piece of sandpaper, some 600 grit wet or something, just so that when they're riding on the sides here, they don't get a hot spot and start eating this aluminum.
Okay.
This side looks great. I was really kind of impressed that this has copper-coated studs on it. That must definitely cut down on the corrosion. I wish my Volkswagen had that.
I replaced a bunch of those when I put the exhaust manifold on and rebuilt
Oh,
the
you
car.
did? That must
Yeah.
be why they still look so clean.
Yeah, this one I don't think I got that one out.
I mean, the exhausts look clean. These are the cleanest looking exhaust manifolds on the inside, I think, that I've ever seen.
I don't know where the gasket is.
Yeah, okay.
They saw in the last video, though. I talked
Yeah.
about it. I had the blowout.
Some blowouts in here and stuff. I mean, the valves look fine. There's not a whole lot of cylinder, cruft and stuff like that in the top here. I don't see,
Lots of carbon deposits.
Yeah, I just see standard carbon. Not a lot of carbon deposits, honestly. Up around the head like this, I'd expect more. Like you said, I like your idea. Let's put it up on some blocks so the studs are here, and then we'll put a couple of tablespoons of gas into each one, or just your coolant, your leak down stuff, your red stuff here, and we'll see if it leaks out.
Cool. Let's get that going. All right. So the idea here is what we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit of gasoline in each one of these chambers, and we're just looking to see how long it takes for it to drain out. Ideally, if it's got a nice tight seal, it should not drain out quickly at all. Yeah, at all. If anything, it should evaporate. But, we'll see. 50 years of being used may give it some
Don't
use.
spill any on this side.
Well, and ideally, though, too, we would fill it all the way up to the top so that way it's even across the board, and then you can kind of see them draining. But
I'm looking for liquid coming out, or out. If it comes out, it'll end up in the intake or the exhaust manifold.
cool. So now what do we do with it?
Pull the valve, springs on it.
Cool. All right, let's do that. All right, so what are we doing, Chris?
Pulling the valves.
So we're going to go ahead and get this done here and take the valves apart. And Chris is using the tool to compress the springs.
Take out the keepers. When we got the seating edge here, you can see that it's reasonably well worn because there's a lip above it and a lip below it. But I don't see any burnt spots or hot edges around the edge, but you can definitely see right there, it's not a very wide sealing gap. You want a nice wide sealing gap all the way around.
So it's pretty impressive then that we actually didn't leak any fuel out when we did this.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad, but that is a dirty valve seal.
Go back in? Come on.
All right, so
That's
what we're
number
gonna do,
8.
we're going to get started pulling these all off, and then I'm going to label them, put them in their own baggies, and yeah, we'll have to do these one at a time. So we're going to knock all these out, and we'll catch up with you guys in a minute and wrap up the video. All right, so we have all the valves pulled out, and now Chris is going to kind of show us what he's seeing here. We got definitely some valve deposits, or some carbon deposits within the valve seats themselves, where everything's kind of just, it's not sealing well. I'm surprised that we didn't actually leak any fuel when we were doing that test, but you're definitely dirty.
Yeah, mostly what I'm seeing is on the exhaust valves, of course, they're always the worst. And here you can see there's a big bunch of lip that's developed both on the inside, inside and the outside of this lip, as well as there's no shininess here. So definitely this valve is not seating as well as it could. And on an exhaust valve, that's critical for cooling.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for this one. Chris, thank you so much for coming over and guiding me through this. I've never torn an engine down to this extent before, so it's a learning process. So now we've got a lot of work ahead of me. I got a shopping list made. Going to order some parts and then hopefully get this guy put back together in pretty short order. Hopefully a lot shorter time than it took me to do the transmission. So with that being said, make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe, click that like button, click the bell to get those post notifications. And remember, when working on project cars like this, make sure that you don't make your shopping list before you start tearing things apart. And most importantly, don't be that dreaded previous owner. Cheers.